That's the good stuff.
Welcome back, everybody, to Goodwill Podcasting with Dan and Stone, your movie podcast that today has our gold coins. We're checking in to the Continental because the bounty is high and we're getting hunted down. That's right. The John Wick franchise, everybody. We're talking about it today. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Parabellum, which we'll get into that and the title of that movie and my frustrations with that. Long spiel I'll go on sometime in this episode. And then also Chapter 4. But we're not doing it alone, just me and Dan. No. We have, yet again, for his second week in a row, our fourth co-host of Goodwill Podcasting, maybe? I don't know what's going on right now. But hey, we have Tristan, martial arts film freak, back with us to talk about all the gun fu that John Wick brings to his universe in 4 different chapters. I'm excited. One of the best action franchises going on right now. I mean, let's hot take right now. Ready? Right off the gate. Whew. We taking this or Mission Impossible? You're on a desert island. You can only bring one action franchise of the 2020s, 2010s. Which one you bringing?
I've seen every movie in this franchise multiple times. I've only seen one Mission Impossible movie.
Oh, damn.
Whoa. Which one?
Fallout.
Yes! The best one. It was that Henry Cavill like arm pump. You're like, hold on.
Legit, it was seeing the bathroom fight scene in the trailers, and I was like, I'm in.
Dude, so good. Dan, Desert Island. You taking Keanu? I mean, you like Keanu more than Tom. I know that.
I mean, Keanu Reeves hasn't potentially been involved with anyone getting disappeared. So, but at the same time, if I'm on a desert island, like, I don't know how many times I can watch John Wick. I just, probably Mission Impossible, but like, in terms of what's the better franchise, I don't know. It requires some thought.
Hey, sorry to spring it up on you like that. I know you're really, when you're on that island, you're really looking forward to all the flashbacks that you get in the Final Reckoning. So that's probably why you're taking it.
I'm not throwing Final Reckoning into the fucking ocean if I'm on an island, but.
Anyways, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this franchise today. This is my second time ever watching it in a row. I watched it for the first time maybe 2 or 3 years ago all at once. And this was like my second time. I mean, we just talked about Ballerina. Now we get to talk about the origins of this franchise in general. I just love the story of these movies, how they just came out of nowhere, really, with that first film. And everyone, I saw somewhere that, which is so good and reminds me of the thing that Matt Damon said on the Hot Ones podcast one time, was the fact that movies used to have such a, like Ballerina, right? It came out, one thing I wish would happen with movies is that we got to know how much money they make on digital like sales. Like, did Furiosa actually make $35 million when people purchased it at home online? We don't know. But I do know that John Wick did have a lot of longevity when it came to at-home releases. Like, it made like $20 to $40 million when it got put on physical media. Even after, I mean, it did pretty well. It did like 70 million, but still. And I just love that that's the power of movies and the power of physical media. I'm sure you guys, I know Dan, I'm sure you as well, Tristan, have your fair share of physical media.
I've got the whole John Wick franchise.
Oh shit! Sorry, it's so little. I didn't know. Okay, can I tell you a pet peeve of mine? Sorry no, I'm yapping here at the beginning. I wish they stopped with Chapter 4 because I hate buying physical media box sets and then they add one more movie to it and it's incomplete. Man, it pisses me off. Sorry, Dan. Go ahead. Ugh.
No, I was gonna say, this is a movie that it's now been 11 years since the first John Wick. It just had such a cult following. I don't know that, it didn't, not everyone saw it when it first came out. But everyone's seen it since. And I think just the way this franchise has grown has been a beautiful thing. And I think as they've been able to make more money, they've poured more money into the movies, and they've never gotten lazy with any of these and never phoned it in, even up through Ballerina. So it's a great franchise with a lot of love behind it, and that it really shows, I think.
Do you know what this movie was originally called, the first film? What its original title was? Scorn. They were going to call it Scorn, and they changed it because I think Keanu Reeves kept on just referring to the movie as a John Wick movie, and they're like, "We'll just name it that instead." But the famous thing, I mean, I guess about this whole franchise is the fact that Eva Longoria basically saved it, as they were running out of money, and I think they went to, I don't know the actual title of the agency itself, but basically like the Actors Association, and they're like, "Hey, anybody want to jump on this real quick? Because we're running out of money." I think they needed $6 million, and good for her, man. Because I'm wondering if she's like getting recoup on like chapter 2 and chapter 3, if she's still making money off that. I wonder what the contract and the deal was there.
Yeah, did y'all watch the Wick is Pain documentary?
I did not. Is that out on digital?
Yes. I bought it on Apple Plus. It's so there was a funny part in that when they were still looking for that last bit of money there because somebody had pulled out their funding. What are you doing, cat? Jesus. If I close the door, she's just going to scratch at the door, so it just has to stay open. But so they're driving, and it's Chad and David Leitch, and they're driving. They're constantly on the phone trying to find funding, and Chad just got off the phone with Keanu, and David Leitch is like, how'd it go? And Chad Stahelski says, "Well, you know, Keanu, he's loud when he's happy and excited, and he's quiet when." And then David Leitch just says, "So how quiet was he?" And Chad Stahelski just says, "Real fucking quiet."
Yeah, that has to be so frustrating, like trying to get a movie made, but they were able to come up with the money, so I'm glad they were.
Did the documentary go into specifics on like why David Leitch couldn't be credited as a like co-director? Because co-directors are credited all the time.
I don't know about credited. I think he was completely content with his position on this movie. He was, trust me, looking at the behind the scenes in that documentary, they are both fully involved. They had a lot of back and forths. At the same time, while making this movie, Chad Stahelski was going through a divorce with Heidi Moneymaker, who's a very famous stunt woman. She's Scarlett Johansson's like primary stunt person, especially for the Marvel movies. She's fantastic. I love a lot of her stuff. But they were going through a divorce, and so there's like a really crazy segment where Chad is, while they're directing the first movie that they were already struggling to get made, Chad is kind of everywhere because he's going through so much stuff in his own life. And David Leitch is just like, "This is our moment. Lock the fuck in. Like if we don't make this, then we're done." And so it gets like heated at that point.
It goes hard. I mean, he's had a good career for himself since this too. I mean, The Fall Guy didn't do that well financially, but even though he wasn't credited as the full director on this movie, I mean, he's gone on to. Oh, he's doing the Gears of War movie. I'm a big Gears of War head guy, so I really hope that movie's not
if
awful.
They don't bring in Dave Bautista.
Yeah, that's the one.
Gears is one of those things that like shouldn't be that hard to make fun, I feel.
Hopefully not. It's just dudes. Just what is the Infected calling them those games? I haven't played Gears of War in forever.
Gears of War in 15 years.
Horde?
Locusts?
I think both. I think you're both.
The Horde is Halo.
The Flood. Halo.
There's Horde mode in Halo, I think.
The Covenant also in Halo. Crazy pulls here at the beginning of this episode.
No, I was okay. So Horde, Horde is a mode in Gears of War 2, but there's also Locust Hordes in Gears of War.
Hold on, I don't know if this is wrong, but the person who wrote Dune Part 1 and Part 2 is writing the Gears of War movie. Sure, sounds cool to me.
Yeah,
I'm down with it. Yeah, Dave Bautista definitely has to be in that. All I remember about Gears of War is I love the chainsaw gun. That's just mow people down.
I was always more of a Halo guy, but I did enjoy some Gears.
I love Halo too. The show's awful. Anyway, speaking of awful shows, did you ever watch The Continental? I had to ask you that before we get into John Wick.
First episode. I watched the first episode. I was like, this is fine. I'll come back, and I didn't come back.
Seems like a lot of other people didn't come back as well, because I think it got canceled. I was crazy. I was watching the movies last night. There's only 3 episodes of that season.
Really?
There's only 3 episodes. I don't know if they like cut it before the rest. There's no way they cut it before the rest of the the episodes came out. But yeah, there's only 3 episodes, which I guess each of them is like an hour and 15 minutes. So that allows a little bit shorter of a season, I guess. But that really surprised me.
I saw a headline yesterday saying someone asked Keanu why they thought Continental failed, and Keanu just said, because when me and Chad gave our 2 cents, they just didn't listen.
Fair enough.
Why do you guys think that this franchise has succeeded, or why do you think the first movie is so beloved? Like, what do you think it is that makes it go?
Authenticity. There is a tremendous amount of authenticity in seeing your hero do something. I think that's something that Tom Cruise knows. That's something that Tom Cruise is very much about with the Mission Impossible franchise. Chad Stahelski as a director and David Leitch, they are students of action cinema from around the world. They are Hong Kong nerds. They are B-movie action nerds. They know what they want to see. They're Kevin Smith in a way, where Kevin Smith makes movies that Kevin Smith wants to see. I truly believe Chad Stahelski and to some extent David Leitch, he's branched out a lot more, but they make action movies that they want to see. And I'll go ahead and say it. They've got some great taste.
Yeah. And you can see, I mean, there's so many influences on this franchise to get into, and I think like it doesn't try to hide that. It's funny, we just talked about how Gabriel Byrne was in Ballerina. Miller's Crossing is one of the movies they talked about as being kind of a big inspiration for this. There is kind of that like noir, very dark comedy aspect to these movies, especially the first one, I think, especially. But they're really good movies made by people that have watched a lot of really good movies, and I think it shows. But I think what you said, the authenticity is there, because like you can't fake that. And I think like authenticity sells every time in movies, and you can tell when people are making shit they don't actually care about. So couldn't agree more with that.
That's kind of interesting because I mean, I guess you can say with 2008's Iron Man, that's when the whole universe shtick started happening. Like, oh, let's build more and more movies off of one singular idea or one singular world. And I think that John Wick does such a beautiful job of incorporating that into its very first film without being overbearing. And I guess Chad Stahelski and also David Leitch are big fans of Game of Thrones. And you can see that with some of the actors that they cast in every single movie. There's a lot of ex-Game of Thrones actors that are in these films. And I saw a comparison where kind of the Continental, and you have all these like houses and these families that are in these different sections of the world, have different power. And just like setting that up with like the bare bones of it in the first movie. I mean, I feel like it's why a lot of people like Iron Man as well. I think there's like some type of purity of seeing a movie that the ideas of it are so large, but it's also so focused at the exact same time.
Stone, you got no respect for the Godzilla universe or the Universal Monster universe back in the day?
I mean, it's been a while. I mean, that first Godzilla movie is not bad. That's Gareth Edwards, though, a lot of times too. But
oh no, I'm talking about back in the like kaiju verse. There was all a universe and shit.
Oh yeah, I mean
the Showa and the Tohei stuff.
But you don't get. I don't think you get. I mean, maybe in the first Godzilla, you do get little hints of there other Titans and stuff like that, other kaiju. But I don't know if they incorporate. Like I said, I think they incorporate like this could expand very well. I don't know if the first Godzilla
very clearly a super rich world, like outside of just the action working, because I can talk about that plenty. The moment he puts that first coin, and the matter of fact, the moment he like unearths like that thing of just gold coins, it's like, oh, what's those? And then you see him like cash in the gold coin at the desk at the Continental, or when he asks the old guy, "You looking to earn a coin?" It's like, what is this world? Like that stuff immediately has your mind racing of like, what is this? Explain it.
I also think, I mean, the part of the beauty of John Wick is like this feels like a video game. This feels like a video game adaptation that there's no video game for. You kind of feel like you're watching a game play out. It doesn't necessarily feel like reality. I think it's funny that this was born out of the Matrix because it almost feels like it could be taking place in the Matrix, especially with the way that most people seem to kind of be like NPCs in this, like just kind of going about their daily life while this stuff happens. They don't have much reaction. It feels very just par for the course, and I feel like it's interesting when you think about it coming out of the Matrix itself, creatively.
And it's interesting that happened too. I think it's kind of poetic because this whole idea of this movie was from the writer, Derek Kolstad. And then he got involved with studios. I think Lionsgate took it up, and then they pitched for directors. So it just so happened that Leach and Stahelski came in, and they were so much affiliated that with the Matrix, and then the story kind of lined up with those ideas perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like, I mean this movie, the first movie, to get into it a bit, it starts out, I mean, it's a very dark movie. It's dark in the way it's shot. I think it kind of pulls you in really nicely to like his life and his existence without his wife. And then him getting this puppy is like such a turning point for him. And I think like that's something that's so relatable. I mean, I'm not saying this is not the same thing. Like I got my dog when he was like 7 weeks during COVID. I had just moved to live by myself for the first time January of 2020. I'd always lived with friends before that, and it was right before the lockdown. Then I got my dog in May, and like I mean I think having him definitely helped my life and like helped me have something to put my time and energy into, and he was always with me. So I think that's just something that's like anyone who's had a pet can just understand that like that's like his lifeline. Like that's bringing him back in a way. It's also a very cute dog, Daisy. So
I thought you were talking about your dog.
No, I mean my dog's cute too, but
they set all that stuff up perfectly. Like I mean, it immediately hitting us with here's a guy who is clearly very depressed. His wife has just died. Setting all that stuff up and then hitting it with, oh, the last thing she did for him is she got him a puppy to get him through. Like she knew her time was coming and she bought him a puppy because she's like, this is going to help you. And then just to rip that away from him in the worst way possible, to show to hear like the hit and the puppy cry and then like the trail of blood as the puppy crawled to him as he was passed out.
Great
decision. The last thing the puppy did was crawl over to him and die.
Oh.
Like it brutal, awful, terrible, works. Hated it, loved it, don't do it again.
They almost cut that out of the movie, I think, because they thought that maybe test audiences, they wouldn't like it. But I'm glad they kept that in
the documentary where they said like the studio was like the number one rule with animals is you don't kill the dog, and they're like we have to kill the dog.
That's the whole thing our movie's kind of riding on. But honestly, I mean, I guess a little, I'm being honest, just right out the gate here. This is my favorite John Wick movie. I really like it. And I think it's because the action isn't as great. They do get more of a budget. As the films go on, you definitely see that obviously in the fourth film, but even in the second and the third film, they just amp it up the more and more funds that they get. But I really dig just every single person's interaction with John and how they go about talking about him and around him. And I like that the cop, John, you working again? I love that stuff. I love the cleaning crew that comes by. I love that, what's his name? John Leguizamo, like the whole, you hit my son? Sir, he stole John Wick's car. Oh. He's like, I got it now. I also love something that is carried out throughout this franchise. I think it also maybe occurs in Ballerina. There's a whole lot of times where people pick up phones and they don't talk. Like, I think Vigo calls up John to say basically, yo, my son fucked up. My bad. Like, please don't come for us. John doesn't say a word. And then the Allstate insurance guy, that's kind of disrespectful to the actor. I'll say his name later. But he's like, what did John say? He goes, enough. So good. Just the whole mystery and the lore surrounding this man, I think, is dealt with so perfectly in this movie. And that's something I really means a whole lot more to me than maybe action, which is crazy to say. But I dig it. I dig how little this movie feels.
Yeah, and that's okay. That guy's been in like 30 Rock and a whole bunch of other stuff, and I still call him Mayhem because that's his name in the commercials. So that's okay.
I mean, that comes with the job. I mean, I watched a movie with the AT&T insurance girl or AT&T phone service. We watched it for the Werewolves Within, and I just called her like the AT&T girl the whole time.
Flow is flow.
Flow is flow.
Dan, who's your favorite commercial mascot?
I kind of hate most of them. I think they're all pretty annoying.
Dude, not even one. What's the guy who was like the old Allstate guy who was like on that movie, that SWAT? Was he in SWAT? He was in a show on CBS.
He was like actually a big actor.
Yeah. Are you in good hands?
But he's a good actor.
Terrible impersonation.
Movie also has Theon Greyjoy.
Perfectly
AKA,
cast.
Yeah, Alfie Allen. I think one of the things, like rewatching this, I think like I don't care too much about the villains in this. I think they feel like very disposable in a way and like just incompetent. And I think like as the franchise moves along, I like seeing John actually challenged. I feel like he feels kind of like asleep at the wheel in this, which is fully the point. But this also, I think, probably is this leans most into the dark comedy, I think, of the franchise. Like this is the most like, because they literally can't do anything to him and they feel so like kind of what you're saying, Stoney, in all of him. I think it's very funny in a way, but I think like the stakes kind of get raised and the movies feel more challenging for John as they go.
I think that's par for the course for most action franchises. Like if even looking at the martial arts world, Ip Man 1, no one's touching Ip Man. Even the final fight against the general, the guy lands a few hits. There's zero thought in your head that Ip Man's going to lose. The first Ong Bak, that movie is made to put Tony Jaa on display and make him look like the baddest dude in the whole world. You get to Ong Bak 2 and 3, goes through a lot more challenges. Same thing with Ip Man 2, 3, 4, has a lot more stuff to go through. So this movie is made not just, I guess, to show Keanu, like, hey, look how crazy talented Keanu can be and how hard he trained. No, it's the movie's called John Wick. We're here to see John Wick be the Baba Yaga. And matter of fact, I'd say the main purpose of the villain in this movie, and he does a great job of it, is with words alone make John Wick the baddest dude in the world. Because he's, before even the first action sequence, when he's just like berating his son of saying, in one night you have torn down this entire organization because he is gonna kill all of us.
It's so good.
Perfect. Even just the O, and that they talk about that in the documentary, where as soon as he delivered that line of "oh," they were like, that just made the movie. Him saying "oh" right there, they're like, perfect delivery. That made the movie right there.
I don't know if they talked about this in the documentary, but what I saw is that the fact, because they had such a strict budget with this, they had to cut out a whole lot of dialogue. I think there was the sequence with the priest where he breaks into the vault. I guess there was like this whole conversation between John and the priest, and I don't know how it would have like raised the price a whole lot, just the whole monologue or a discussion. But I guess they just cut it out, and he's like, which I think is what Dan's saying. But the one word responses, I think it's maybe people like criticize how little, especially when it comes to the fourth movie, how little Keanu like speaks in these films. Yeah. Like that's the point of them. And also that's not only the character, but that's the comedy at the exact same time.
I mean, this movie was made for $20 million and still the stuff they get done. I mean, they brought up in the documentary when they were looking for that 11 million, because when that person pulled out, they said like, we can make this movie for 20 million. We can make it for 9 million. It's going to be a whole lot different movie if we make it for 9 million, but we can do it. So imagine the stuff they could have cut out of this.
I saw somewhere that they said that they thought that they were getting $2.4 million out of an investor, and it was actually 2,400. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this movie's in that sweet spot of like, they had enough money to make it look good and like to, have the set pieces and have it all, be really watchable and enjoyable, but not too much to where, they go too crazy with it. It is a nice balance. I wanted to say, I think like the Baba Yaga, like it sounds good. It's a really strange nickname because like Baba Yaga's not really cool. She just like eats kids. That's kind of like her whole shtick, like an old lady that eats kids. Like I feel like they could have come up with something maybe more interesting. Or
Have you ever seen Silicon Valley?
No.
It's very similar to that. Like they name their business after the pot. They name their business Pied Piper, and then one day someone looks up, oh, so where'd Pied Piper come from? And someone looks up the origins of it, and it's like, oh, he abducted children, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's already the name of the company.
Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dad, because I remember there's this one little thing about this movie that drives me that I stuck with me after I rewatched it. Was the first time you actually hear. No, he's doing like I think he's just talking, like drinking his drink when that first round of guys come to his house and they're trying to kill him. Vigo's just sitting in his like little office area, just talking, and you can see like text on the screen. I think he's speaking in Russian. Oh, and it's so bothersome. But when he says the Baba Yaga, you can see it, like you see the boogeyman like in text on the screen. And what happens is it cuts to the guys like in John Wick's house, and then it cuts to John Wick emerging from the shadows. I don't know why they did not leave that text on the screen, right? Completely cut out that one little second that you saw men in his house, and then leave that text, and all of a sudden that cuts to John Wick coming out of the shadows, and literally it says the boogeyman as he's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it would have been such a smart editing choice to do that. I'm like, come on, guys, get me up in the studio, get me in there. Just saying, that would have been really cool.
A very niche critique there. So.
I mean, it would have been good. Sorry, I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, I also think it kind of. I mean, I guess it kind of works because like the story is also kind of a father scolding his son, and basically knowing his son is going to die. So like, I guess it works. But, yeah. But I also think Willem Dafoe. I kind of forget that he's in this as Marvin.
I always forget.
He adds a lot to it, and I think like, again, I think the franchise as it moves along, it's so good at adding these incredible characters with really good actors behind them, and we get more of that. But like, he is the entry for this, and I think he does a nice job.
Adrian Palicki, Daniel Bernhardt, lots of great people.
Yeah. But I always forget Willem Dafoe's in this for some reason.
And I think they just did so good with like the core. I guess there's like a core three to these movies. Obviously, it's Keanu Reeves, but it's also like Ian McShane and Lance Reddick. And I just think that all three of them just feel like we were talking about, Tristan's like characters in this larger than life world. Like Ian McShane is just on fire in these movies. I absolutely love him. Just as much as I love John Wick, and I love Lance Reddick just as much. I mean, he takes care of the dog just as much as all three of them are like awesome. Like I don't like one over the other, to be honest. Even if the movies are called John Wick.
Yeah, and Ian McShane I think has the perfect amount of like theatricality in these, and like he really understood the assignment and he adds a lot to it. And so did Michael Nyqvist, who is Vigo. He's kind of on the same. Like in the same boat, I think he understood what this performance was supposed to be.
There's a part where John was speaking. You think that the villains sometimes act incompetent? Maybe it was because John had just like, I think he had just gotten doctored up by the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Hey, make sure you don't move around a whole lot." But there's this one scene after John gets done with the church and burns the church down, where he tries like take on like 30 dudes. Now he's done that before. But even when I was watching, I'm like, there's no way you thought you're gonna take all these guys out. And then he gets ran over by a car. So like little poor planning, I think, on his part. But after he breaks out of that, wherever they have him like bonded up and put a bag over his head, I thought it was really hilarious. He like jumps on the car and Vigo goes, cool it. He's like, don't kill me. Like, we can talk this out. My son is here. Go kill my son.
I mean, again, he's fully aware of the situation. He knows the family's gonna fall and his son is gonna die. The one thing he can hopefully confidently save is himself.
I like how quickly he kind of makes a business decision there and is like, yeah, my son's cooked. It is what it is. But
How'd you like that? Also happened very fast, as in the death of his son. I thought it was great. You think that that's kind of going to be the climax of the movie, but then you don't realize that Willem Dafoe's character and his inclusion in this whole thing is kind of what drives the climax. And I think that's a nice subversion of expectations. I think you would just be like, okay, the end, he's going to kill, what's his name, Yusuf? He's going to kill Yusuf at the very end. Nope, he literally doesn't even talk to Yusuf, I don't think. Yusuf tries to talk to him, but does not succeed.
I mean, it's important to him to kill him, but also he is like, you're so despicable. I'm not even gonna make this a big deal. You're just gonna die. Like the way you killed my dog for no reason, I'm just gonna make this the most pointless killing of the whole movie and just shoot you in the head right now.
Which I think is how he kind of is throughout most of these movies. Which I think is very real in how he deals with people. It's not designed to be like cinematic necessarily. It's just like, this is my job. So I feel like it kind of fits the tone of these.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Interesting question for you guys. I think this is the only movie that does this. And I know a lot of other movies do this too, even though this is the only one that is in the John Wick franchise. But are you a fan of movies that show you the end of the film at the beginning?
Generally, no.
But it worked for you here? You didn't
I
really
don't think
care
I think
either
about
way?
it very much.
Okay.
I don't think I think about it much with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different than a movie. I mean, the movie could have had John Wick saying, "You're probably wondering how I got here." Like, it didn't do that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was fine. It's because I don't even think you see the scene over again. You haven't watched Mission Impossible, but Mission Impossible 3 does that, where basically it shows you an amazing clip right at the beginning of the film, but it takes place towards the end of the film, and they kind of show you segments of that interaction again at the end. But here, I mean, it's not a whole lot. It's just him listening to the video of his wife, but they just cut to after whatever you saw at the beginning of the movie, which I think works than seeing it all over again.
I mean, it's not like the cheapness of Uncharted starting with Tom Holland, and I refuse to call him Nathan Drake, hanging out of the plane, and like that's just that's just a fairly cheap start to that movie.
It's like TikTok. You got to catch people's attention right at the beginning, or they'll go on their phone.
Yep. How did you guys like the red circle, the club scene here? How do you think it stacks up to the other club scenes?
It's smaller. I like the beginning of it where it's like I said, this is my favorite part of the movie. I can't remember the guy's name. Hold on, maybe I'll find it. The guy, the security guard at the outside.
Oh, that was Kevin Nash.
Okay. He's like, Francis. Francis is his name. He goes,
Yeah.
John, Francis, you working again? I just like that shit so much. He's like, I think you should
Just
take the
sorting
night
some
off.
stuff out.
Yeah, I think you should take the night off, man. He goes, appreciate it. Just leaves. I think it's so good. But also the fact that I forgot the fact that he picks up Yusuf's friend's phone when he kills him. Brutal kill. And then he's expecting Yusuf to call his friend sometime throughout the night. And John just knows that. And he wants to scare the living shit out of him. So when he calls his friend up, he's like, I'm coming for you, or whatever he says. But I thought it was great. I like it. I think it's really good. There's this one sequence where he gets thrown off a balcony and he like lands on his back. A little bit more realistic than him falling in the end of John Wick Chapter 3. But I thought that was really effective. You look like he's getting hurt, which I think is really important to show that it looks like he's getting hurt, even though he kind of turns into a superhero. This is before the bulletproof suit.
I do like it. I don't think it stacks up for me to some of the later stuff, but it's fairly solid. It's a little hard to see at times. It's sometimes a little bit too dark. I enjoy the Daniel Bernhardt segment. Daniel Bernhardt's the one that kicks him a bunch and then throws him off the balcony. It's some of the first like it's some of the first stuff we see where it goes from like nice stylish choreography to the brutality. Like there's the moment where he grabs the big guy's beard and he's holding him down on the table and he just like pops him like 4 times in the head. Like that's probably the first truly brutal stuff we start to see in a franchise that gets quite brutal. But I love it. It doesn't quite stack up to some of the later stuff. I think these movies get crazier and better, in my opinion, for me.
Yeah, I also think visually, this movie is like the worst to look at. I think it's like
Yeah.
the most boring visually.
In a weird comparison, it's like the first Twilight.
I like the look of the first Twilight. Is that what I don't know. It looks cool. I like the green or the blue or whatever they're going for.
Yeah, this movie is really, it is dark the whole time, and like I said, I like it thematically at first, but I think at times it's kind of hard to see the action and what's happening. Another strange thing with this movie is like it almost feels like it was supposed to be more. There's that bartender Addie that like she meets John and like they have this. There's some kind of dynamic there, and they have a conversation, and it feels like she's supposed to be more important than she is, and then she's just never there again. I was always wondered if they meant to bring her back later on, or like pull her back into the movie at a later point, but always wondered about that. But
I think she's just there to add to that emphasis of like John Wick is well known in this world. He's not just one of the people that exists. If he shows up in the room, someone is going to be like, "Oh shit, that's John Wick."
It just felt like there was more of a personal connection there, and then they didn't do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like this movie a lot. It's really really straightforward rewatching it, but really good. And I'm glad that like it stuck, so we could get the whole franchise.
Him getting a dog at the end too. Perfect bookend. Really good.
Yeah. Do you guys want to get into John Wick 2?
I'll give one more small thought on John Wick and just say sometimes a movie comes along and sitting right there in the theater from one scene, oh, something's happened. A game has changed, an announcement has been made, and like the first scene that it's the first home invasion scene, the way he takes out every single person, the fluidity, the movement, the style of action, the mastery of camera work and everything, the relationship between choreography and camera is extremely important. As soon as that first home invasion scene happened, I sat there in the theater and I just went, oh, something's happened. A change has been made.
Yeah.
Kind of
that's really well said.
Backpacking off that thought, I love when they clean up that scene, and it shows you how they put a lot of thought into each and every shot. Because I remember one in particular where the camera is coming down and you're seeing bodies get pulled like left and right as the camera is coming down. I just thought they did everything with that home invasion is just masterfully put together.
Yeah, I agree.
Now on to the next chapter. Chapter 2. Can we talk about the names of these movies? I don't know if you guys care. Pisses me the fuck off that it's chapter 1. It doesn't say chapter 1. John Wick chapter 2, John Wick chapter 3, Parabellum, and then John Wick chapter 4. The fact that they add Parabellum is something that really bugs me. It's the same thing with Alien. Like you have Aliens, Alien 3, and then you go to Alien Romulus, Alien Covenant, stuff like that. Jurassic Park has this too. I was thinking about other examples where it's like Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World. It bugs me when stuff isn't named like consistently, like 2, 3, 4, or have Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Captain America. It just bugs me, man. Personal pet peeve. So sorry. All right, I got it out there.
Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, Fast 9.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. I mean, it works on multiple levels too in terms of like meaning, which I think is cool. Parabellum's like a round. It's like a 9mm round, but it's also like Parabellum is the kind of it's part of the
doesn't it mean war or something?
Ian McShane's line. It's like he says, "In times of peace, prepare for war." That's what Parabellum is. Prepare for war. So I like it. But
I just had maybe I should have waited till chapter 3. I just had to get it out there. We're good now.
But chapter 2, I think it's just like, kind of like we talked about. They had a little bit more money to play with, and it's just they really expand on the story. You get a lot more characters. You get a lot more interesting locations. We're in Rome, which I think is beautiful. You get the mirror fight scene here. I think is one of the most iconic scenes in the franchise. It's
Very
really
Enter the Dragon.
And people really this made $175 million. And I think, the first movie definitely got people's attention and everyone was ready when this came out. This was 3 years after the first, so a decent enough wait to the point where people were anticipating it, but not too long. So I think this is one of the better sequels of all time. And I think it does everything a sequel should do for a movie. I love it.
Yeah, it expands the world, introduces more people to flesh it all out, enhances the action. I love the is this one that had just two is the one is the catacombs.
Yes.
Yes, that was so good. And like what's so brilliant about the action, and when I say that when with the first movie changing the game, I don't just mean like for the movie itself. I mean the wider action landscape of film across the world. And it didn't completely start with John Wick. Like, you don't have John Wick without The Raid and a few other films from across the world. But what pisses me off so much about so many different, mostly Hollywood films, is you'll have a big shootout. And I think I, for the most part, find shootouts extremely boring. I don't care for gun films. I like a few war movies. But what pisses me off so much about just movies with shootouts is there's zero geography to a scene. It's just, we know that there's someone over here. We know that there's someone over here. And we're going to cut back and forth between people shooting and maybe a few reaction scenes and call it a day. No geography. Nothing matters. Bullets are flying and it's not entertaining. It's boring as shit. And just with the John Wick franchise, and it's really, really well done in this one with the catacomb scene, with like even the big concert, it's all so detailed. It's all so laid out. It doesn't matter if it's a tracking shot. It doesn't matter if it's cut up. You know exactly where everyone is, what's going on, who shot who. It all works and is put together like a beautiful freaking puzzle. And I love it.
And it's not like shaky cam bullshit where you have no idea what's happening or what's happening to who. Like you know who's where, like you said, and what they're doing, and it's easy to follow. And like when you have such intricate sequences with so many actors, so many extras, like it's really impressive. And I think we might, take it a little bit for granted, but it's definitely special. And I mean the concert sequence here is wonderful with the guys kind of coming out of the crowd. And this story to me, I think Santino is one of the better villains in the series, if not the best. I think he's really strong, and like the intrigue of what he's trying to do, and the fact that John has an attachment and a friendship with his sister, like you feel like he's in this just impossible, horrible situation. I think this movie is a great summation of his life as a hitman, in terms of like just being asked to do terrible things that he doesn't want to do, but he's just kind of forced into it. And I think you kind of see how he became like the person that he was. And him like being out of that world and then getting pulled back in, I think is really effective.
So this is my least favorite John Wick movie.
That's my least favorite. It's fine. It's my least favorite too. It's fine.
I would say I don't like Santino because I think he kind of feels like Theon Greyjoy yet again. I would have loved to have a villain that actually feels like a threat. He yet again is someone who's kind of, let me run away from John and send other people to go do, my killing besides doing it myself. Literally runs into the Continental for refuge. I felt like maybe diversifying the villain, as in his pursuing towards John, would have been a little bit more interesting. Also, I do not like Ruby Rose in this movie. I don't like her character. I don't like that she's some edgelord, like, ooh, I'm a badass. Like, she feels like what people think that Ballerina would be. The fact that with Ana de Armas having a female lead, the fact that she is mute, which I guess gives her an interesting character trait. But when she's like signing, and then I think she's trying to sign like the number one, but she like does her like middle finger. I'm like, okay, come on now. And I just don't like her as an actress. I don't think she's a good actress. Now, I will say, which is funny because she doesn't speak a word in this entire film. She's very good at the fight choreography. I think she does a great job at that. And like you were saying, obviously they have more money. I think everything, the concert, so cool. I'm a huge fan for music that is happening inside of a movie. And then that kind of carries on to like overplay the events of the movie. Like as the action is going on, big fan of stuff like that. But it's mostly just Santino. The whole thing with also like, I mean, it happens every single movie, but let's put a contract on John yet again and raise the price this time. It's something they already done in the first movie, and maybe that's just on me, and I'm just being annoying to myself as in the fact that you kind of get that with all these films. I just wish it was a huge threat and someone who actually went toe to toe with John. Now, the only person we really get like that, possibly in the entire franchise, is Kane. I would say nobody really matches up to him, and that's kind of the point of the Baba Yaga. But that's my one big
Common.
Okay, Common highlighted this film for me. Love him in this film. I thought he's awesome. And also, just speaking of him, this is my little theory I have about this universe. Do all the fucking civilians in this universe know that these guys exist and they just do not care? Because John Wick is covered in blood, shot, just walking through like this train station. No one. And I mean, no one looks at him. And then him, I know they have silencers, but him and Common are just like obviously shooting at one another. Great sequence. Absolutely love that. But I just don't think no one really cares. He like kills two guys in the subway, like before he gets on the train. Literally kills people while people are still there. They just walk on the train and don't even look at what's going on. That's a big theory I have about this whole thing, is that these people from the Continental just exist in this universe and commit these crimes. And respectfully, people just get out of their way. Sorry, I know I said a whole lot there.
Wait, when you're talking about Ares, what do you mean by you think she is what people think Ballerina is? Like, what do you mean by that?
I don't think she's a character. I think that she is more so. There's nothing about her that I think adds anything to the story. Like, no, because I guess she cannot speak, so that's kind of what there's not a whole lot of layers to her character. There's just like, hey, she is a badass and she's gonna fucking kill people, which is fine for a side character. I think that's what people expect when it comes to Ana de Armas and Ballerina. Honestly, people who say the movie's woke expect that. Expect a character who doesn't have flaws. Expect a character who is invincible, who is just like, I'm gonna kill all of these people no matter what. You know what I'm saying? I hopefully I'm articulating myself really, really well here. But she feels like there's nothing to her. She's a very shallow character, Ares. There's nothing, and she is a side character. So maybe.
I mean, she's just a bodyguard. I don't think. I mean, what is there to Cassian?
He has some sort of past with John Wick. We don't really know a whole lot about it, but they've got some back and forth that gives them some sort of relationship. You say that he doesn't have a threat, and Cassian is as close as we get to a threat in this one. I love the fight they have. They're in Rome in this one, I think, or something like that, or Italy, I guess.
Yeah, they travel around, but some of it's in Rome.
The fight they have just like all throughout town that goes from like them shooting at each other, a decent little jiu-jitsu battle, which jiu-jitsu is really hard to make entertaining on film. Them like rolling down the stairs together, trying to get hits in, to them like landing in the Continental, like all that stuff is better storytelling through choreography than I think Ruby Rose gets. And that's just for me, I understand what you mean by shallow. For me, all she is she's Ruby Rose. I don't think she breaks out of being Ruby Rose in this movie. Whereas I believe Common is Cassian, and it's a lot of that isn't just through his acting or through his dialogue with Keanu. It's through the choreography. I love storytelling through choreography, and I think they do a really good job of making us understand the threat and character that is Cassian through their fight scene.
I was confused at what you meant about Santino Stone, because I think more than half of this movie is Santino being in charge of John. So I was confused at what you meant. Because most of this movie is not them being pitted against each other. It's John working for him.
Right. I guess, I mean, I guess it's mostly the ending, but also I wish that we found out what exactly John, because it's the reason why they have a connection in the first place is because of the impossible task. Like Santino did something to help out John with the impossible task that we see that he did for Vigo, which got him out of this entire thing in the first place. So I guess it's just the fact that Santino's just running away for the second half of this movie. And maybe it's just like, it's John Wick. There's nothing you can do. But I wish he at least like put up a fight at all, like Ares, like did something. And one more thing I want to add about Ares too, and Comet. Comet is a very good like different way to look at what Ares could have been. Is the fact that Comet also has a connection with the Ward, and I feel like you feel like an emotional connection there, and that's a lot what is driving his character to do these acts against John. It's not necessarily the bounty on his head. The fact that Ares, and you see like he's in like turmoil and pain, like you see that from him, like he's having a difficult time really processing doing all these things to John. The fact that I don't really feel a connection, like I said, I wish that her character could talk. I think it's just something quirky that they added in. I wish she could speak, but the fact that she's about to get killed by John Wick and she winks to Santino, I'm like, dude, you know you're about to die. I don't think that like you would be like, yeah, see you later, kind of a thing. It's just like little interjections like that I think make me I just really don't like her. And she's in this entire movie.
I think Santino works because even though he's running away in that like last 45 minutes or so, he's a villain with greater resources and a whole lot smarter. And the fact that he abuses the rights of the Continental is so good that it works in the movie and it works in the final few moments to set up the next movie. Like John Wick shooting Santino in the Continental, like that's a shocking moment. These movies do such a good job of setting up the rules of the world. You do not kill on Continental ground. And the fact that I think he's like mid-sentence and John just goes, no, and shoots him in the head right there. It's so loud. It's so sudden. Ian McShane does a fantastic job of reacting and just saying, what have you done?
Yeah.
I think he's a perfectly fine villain in this. Perfectly done.
I guess I have to change my outlook. Like I see that as cowardly, but that is smart by him to go to the Continental. That's something like Vigo should have done in the first film. Like just go in there. He can't kill you in there.
And he's also someone who's like just using a person to assassinate his sister for power and then framing that and then basically just he wants to dispose of that person. Like he has a good plan, and I think it's a good introduction to the high table. But also he also feels like I think the person that John, I mean, outside of Yosef, like he truly hates him. Like I think because of his relationship with Gianna previously, that they were friends, and I think that's why there's a dynamic with Cassian too, because like Cassian is the bodyguard of his friend, and they were obviously friends too. And on Santino's side, it's just like it's not the same dynamic. So I think that should be different. But I think, and like you said, this flows so perfectly into 3, where like 3 is directly informed by this, and these movies really stack on top of each other in a brief period of time in real life. And yeah, I think that ending is just really, really strong. And it feels like John kind of breaking his stoicism and like his, it's someone who normally follows at least like the general, like the rules of the Continental and all that. Mm-hmm. Like he would have respect for that. And here he's just like, no, fuck this guy. Which I think is cool to see him kind of break there.
We also get the Bowery King here, and we get the lore expansion of your theory of saying, do civilians just know about everything? But this movie's explaining every homeless person is in on it. Every homeless person is actually part of the Bowery King's kingdom. And it's nuts and it's beautiful.
I absolutely love that for like the world. One thing I don't like is there's a really blatant scene of exposition there where the Bowery King is explaining something to John that John would already know. But it's for the audience to know how the connection between the two characters. You left me for dead, and you gave me this, and you gave me a choice between this and this. I'm like, John knows this. This is for the audience, and in a franchise that does so good with such little words, that really sticks out. And I'm like, okay, this could have been done better. I don't know how, but show us their connection and their history without just telling me their connection and their history.
But for a character and performer like Lawrence Fishburne, with having a character who doesn't get an action scene and all he has is his words, I'd give him as many words as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of his shtick, and I think like he has most of the most iconic lines in the franchise. And he has the most iconic line in the franchise in this movie with the "somebody gets man a gun," which is so fucking funny.
I was gonna try to impersonate it, but I might be too loud.
Oh, my brain went to Avengers: Infinity War and was like, "Someone get this man a shield."
Yeah.
Fishburne's very funny in this.
Yeah, I think this movie's really, really strong. I like it a lot, and I didn't remember liking this as much as I did, so I was glad we rewatched these. I really enjoyed this.
And something we talked about too, the fact that this goes so well from chapter 2 into chapter 3. Honestly, this goes great from chapter 1 to chapter 2, where it's Peter Stormare, which I loved seeing him in this after the abomination that was Until Dawn. But he's like, it's because my nephew killed his dog and stole his car. We're like, oh, we're still doing this. And I think that was such a fun surprise, because you would expect some time to have passed between chapter 1 and chapter 2. I'm just like, nope, John's just like, and we still have his car. It's like, dude, like, why don't we just give him back his car?
Yeah.
Because he killed my brother or my nephew. It's so good. Also, John never misses, I guess, because he just got a perfectly trained dog from that pound who just follows him all the time. And like, I wish my dogs were like that.
Good boy.
That's a good boy. I like Lance Reddick's like connection to the dog too. That's like something like small that they just added in like this movie, and especially I think the third movie as well. But I like that. Nice touch.
I was reading about this. It says that do you know the Machado brothers, Tristan?
Yes.
They trained
Machado, and I can't remember the other one.
They trained Keanu for this movie in particular, which I thought was interesting.
That would make a lot of sense. There's a lot more of the ground game in this one, so the Machado brothers make sense.
Yeah, and I like that. I feel like this, like, I think some of the gunplay in the first one gets a little bit repetitive, and I think like having the combat in general swapped up here. There's you also see John using a lot of different weapons. There's a really good shotgun sequence in the catacombs, and it's so well shot and thought out, and the way he's like reloading on the fly, like flipping the shells in, like it's really good.
This movie blends the styles of action really well. The fight between him and Cassian, where they're both tied up with each other and they're still trying to shoot each other with the guns. That's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, and the train fight with him at the end. And I always wondered if he died. We don't get confirmation on that.
If you pull this out, you're going to die. Leave it in.
Yeah. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on this one?
It's the weakest one for me, but that's like, it's the weakest one in a franchise where all of them are great. So it's not saying a bad thing. It's my least favorite. It's the one I have the lowest ranked, but it's still great and amazing.
Completely agree. Why would you put it down there?
I as much as I love the world building and the catacomb fight and everything, it's weird to say it's the least interesting for me. It's the least memorable, which is crazy because I feel like I remember quite a bit of it. Less of this movie speaks to me, I'll say. The first one is beloved just because it's that first one. It announces itself. It's grand. We'll get into 3 and 4, but I adore 3 and 4 more because I believe that's when this franchise becomes a martial arts franchise, and 3 and 4 are just straight up martial arts movies, whereas the first 2 are action with martial arts in them. So it's just the one that speaks to me the least.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess when it comes to Santino also is the fact that he kind of he stands out I feel like two, 3, and 4 go really well into one another. But the reason why 1 doesn't go into 2 is because of 2, if that makes sense. Like it feels like this necessarily it is a continuation of John as a character, as in it's like, man, I tried to get out and now I'm back in. Like I thought you were back. That's why I'm gonna do this. What do they call it? A marker? That's why we're doing
Mhm.
this marker. You can't come back and all that stuff. But he feels like a sequel villain. Like he feels like someone new that they brought in with like a new story, which is fine. But
Because he
this
killed
movie,
everybody else.
I mean, that is true. That is true. I'm not saying that Peter Stormare should have been like the main baddie of this film, but I don't know. Whatever. I feel like if they could have somehow like combined the first and the third movie and made like a cohesive something in the background and like really tie them all together a little bit better, I feel like it would have roped me in just a little bit more. I think Santino's kind of forgettable, and I hate to say that. I know you like him. I mean, I don't know if it's a hot take if everyone loves this movie more than the first one, but I don't know. Something maybe it's Willem Dafoe. I don't know.
I don't think most people like that better than the first one.
There's a lot of nostalgia, I think, for the first one, which is crazy because it's 2014. But everyone's like, that's where it all began.
Yeah. John Wick 3, I think is a movie that a lot of people think is the worst movie in the franchise.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's craziness.
Highly disagree.
Yeah. I think it's the best movie in the franchise, and I don't think it's like really remotely close. I really like this one a lot. Tristan, what's your general take on this?
I love this movie so much. From the dogfight sounds bad. From the dogs being used and dogs knowing how to fight. That scene is just immaculate. Like, and it's again, if this would have been made by anybody else, that scene would have been chopped up to hell. But again, this is where it becomes a martial arts franchise. It brings in Mark Dacascos as Zero. It brings in Yayan Ruhian and Chechep Rahman from The Raid 1 and 2, among other films. The opening bit of him running through town, first of all, the way 2 ends with him having to run and you see people's phones ringing, and this one picking up immediately after that, and still people's phones are ringing, and they're like, okay, at this time, shit goes down. Immediately jumping into all that stuff, it grabs you, which, I'm already in. But like the moment we had the museum fight where they're throwing knives at each other and they're just, and he quickly assembles an old gun just to get off one shot. The fight with
that was so cool.
So the fight with in that museum is truly the announcement of, okay, this is a martial arts franchise for me. They bring in Tiger Chen, who I can talk a bit about him later, maybe. Roger Yuan, that whole team, and that's just a straight up martial arts fight scene. It's not gun fu. We're not doing the jujitsu. We're doing some stand up, hand to hand fight scenes. This is a martial arts franchise. Let's fucking go. And then it just continues from there. And it's everything about this movie. This is a 5 out of 5 movie for me. I love it so much. It's perfect.
Yeah, and there's so many different, like there's it's like a string of iconic John Wick sequences. Like every single set piece is wonderful. And I also think that the adjudicators is fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. She's such a cool character. That woman has not acted much. Her name is Asia Kate Dillon. I don't know why. I think she's also done some TV acting. But yeah,
she's got a very memorable face. Like fits right into the universe.
Yeah, but anyway, I think
say they. I believe they're they.
Yeah. Asia's non-binary, but he's such a good character, such a memorable character, and there's a lot of those in this movie. How do you say Mark's last name, Tristan?
Dacascos.
Mark Dacascos, like he has this dynamic as Zero with John where like he has so much admiration for him and he like almost looks up to him and he seems so excited every time he gets to see him, even when they're trying to kill each other. I love that. You have fucking Halle Berry in this movie. Like, it's just there's so many great
Kind of
characters.
a comeback for her, kind of, right?
Yeah. This was so she was in Kingsman: Golden Circle in 2017. She had Days of Future Past in 2014. A lot of bad shit before that.
Yeah, but even like Days of Future Past, like she's in that movie for like a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, there's like 75 people in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, she had been in. Since she had Storm. She had Last Stand in 2006. She didn't have much really until Kingsman and this. So yeah, I would say definitely a comeback, and she hasn't gotten much good stuff since, which is a shame. But love seeing her here. Her dogs are wonderful. I love German Shepherds so much, and they're the training there is preposterous. Like it's ridiculous, and you feel like they are, dogs that are trained for combat. It's really they're scary.
We talk about people like training in martial arts for a role for like 6 months or 3 months at a time for a movie, but the fact that she had to take 2 puppies home because they needed like her to trust her on set so well. So they were like, we need you to take these puppies and raise them for a year and then come make this movie.
Absolutely. I mean, I wonder what it was like trying to like give those away, like get the dogs away afterwards. Like what, like, I guess a bond must have formed between the 3 of them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I would be so sad. Like, can I keep the dogs? Like, that's part of my contract, but dogs are a lot to take care of. So I have 2 dogs.
Also, another sequence I love is, first of all, the fight with Boban Marjanovic. Boban does a really good job acting in this. Like, from his little performance to his actual like combat, I think he's really good. I love Boban. He was on the Sixers for a hot minute. He's awesome. But I love the scene after that where he goes to the doctor when he's about to be like excommunicado and he's like counting it down so like he can work on him until then. And that is Randall. That is Randall Duck Kim, who is not only the keymaker, but he's fucking Oogway too, Master Oogway.
Oh yeah.
So that's a really fun scene. Then he has to shoot him, twice. And like that's like this movie just jumps from like memorable moment to memorable moment, and it has no breaks. I really love it.
You talk about not having a threat stone. This one not only having the guys from the raid and all that.
Yes.
2 major threats of this movie for me is one, the final fight where I love that we get a Lance Reddick fight. So Lance Reddick gets some action because we have all the bad guys in the Continental who are wearing like the bulletproof armor, and they have to like lift up the helmet a little bit and shoot him in the neck. I thought that stuff was fantastic. I love that's just so well done. This movie for me shows John Wick's one true weakness, and I've talked about this ever since this movie's come out. John Wick's one weakness is he can't strike for shit. If he has to take on a stand-up, let's stand and brawl fighter, he's gonna lose. He's a grappler. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's got great throws. The Russian Sambo wall comes in great. He's a shooter. He's great with guns. Give the man a knife. He's unbeatable. Take everything away from him and just stand and bang. He's fucked.
He's the guy you get in a street fight and he lies down on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like that.
Get his shit rocked a lot in this movie, which is
yeah. I'll say what you're talking about, like there not being a threat. This doesn't feel like the threat, even though you do have, the person from the high table. It feels like the threat literally is the universe of John Wick. Like it's not one singular person, which I think adds so much weight to the story that everyone is out to get him. Now you kind of had that in the other movies with the whole, we put a contract on him, like in the first and the second movie, but this really feels like the weight of the events of the other 2 films have caught up to him, and now he is the one in some instances that is just running away. He's like, where can I get to safety? That way I can go track someone down, kill him again. And when he goes to the desert, man, that's when this whole franchise to me like goes up a level. Like, oh, even though he went to Rome in the second movie, I'm like, this is like you guys are trying to really build something here, and really, I mean, I know there's a lot of influence from Lawrence of Arabia right there. I think there's also a direct reference to like a certain edit that they make in Lawrence of Arabia with like a match, like they light a match and it cuts to the desert in Lawrence of Arabia, and it does the exact same thing here. But I love that sequence. I love that he has to go so far to just get what he wants, and it just builds this world out. And especially, I mean, when it comes to Chapter 4, everything in Japan, beautiful, awesome.
Another interesting thing is Zero was supposed to be Hiroyuki Sanada, and he tore his fucking Achilles, so he had to step out, and then he ended up being in 4 in a different role. But Mark was really good in that. I think I don't know that Hiroyuki would have. Maybe they would have made the character a little different. I don't know that he would have.
Yeah, I think so.
Pulled off the comedy of that.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I cannot see him doing that.
Very serious.
He's very funny, I think, in Bullet Train. But yeah, I don't think he would have done this. It would have been a very different performance.
Yeah. Maybe they would have changed the character, but yeah.
There's not a whole lot about this movie that I don't like, to be honest. This is probably my second favorite. I don't know. It's tough. It's a good franchise.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think anything really comes close to this. There's nothing I would necessarily change about this movie.
If somebody ever says
good.
If somebody ever says all John Wick movies are the same,
no.
This movie
does so much.
Is so diverse within itself.
Yeah.
Not and from the characters to the storytelling to the different environments he's going into, the expansion of the world. Like this makes it maybe as big as it's ever been because he's literally got to find some dude just sitting in the desert who's the head of the high table or something. But just in the diversity of action, like it's. Even though I say this is a straight up martial arts movie, there is a diversity in action. You're going to have your fight scenes. You're going to have your hand-to-hand stuff, the knife fights, the sword fights. You're going to have the motorcycle fight scene ripped straight out of The Villainess. There's a 2018, maybe 2017 South Korean film called The Villainess, where it's a motorcycle fight where the main character is surrounded by people on motorcycles. She's on a motorcycle herself, and they have a sword fight while on the motorcycles. They lifted that scene straight out of The Villainess and put it in here, and I'm not mad about it. So between the motorcycle chase, the horse chase, all the gunfights, the scene where all the guys are wearing all the armor and everything, the fight scene, this is an extremely diverse movie when it comes to just action alone, and it's not even just that.
I think that this is the funniest movie out of all of these films. The one where he keeps slapping the horse's head, keeps kicking him, but then also like in the final fight, they just keep throwing him through like cases of glass, like over and over and over again to like such a great comedic level. And then he does it to them. It's just perfect, like slapstick comedy, as well as being really good choreographed action at the exact same time.
I think that's the weakest when it comes to being a performer that Keanu has ever looked. It's the fight scene between him and the two Shinobi guys. That's Yayan and Chechet from the Raid films, because they're so good. And it doesn't help that they're like, Keanu's got to be like what 6'1", 6'2", maybe, I don't know. They're just short. They're very short dudes, and he's very tall compared to them. But they're so fast and proficient. They are beyond the level of expert martial artists. They're dudes who, before they were in movies, they were freaking instructors and teachers. They are as proficient as it gets, and they took to the screen masterfully and understood the relationship between camera and choreography, action, actor, all that stuff. They're so good and so proficient that even though Keanu is really good at it, he is clearly like much slower than them.
Yeah.
He's
still great. Yeah. I love that fight scene.
Kind of like with you mentioned Boban at the very beginning. I like that I guess it's the same thing. You have a difference in height when it comes to like the characters who are fighting. I like that Boban just like takes his hand and just puts it on John's face like constantly. He's like, because I'm like huge, let me just hold you away. Mm-hmm. Like that's my strength. You just can't get to me. But yeah, it's funny because you want to incorporate really good, really expert level martial artists and just performers in general. But then it's kind of like a weird balancing game. I wonder if there's anybody who they like. I wonder if they have that exact same thought. They obviously do, but I wonder what they have to do filmmaking wise to take care of that, to make sure it's not as big of a problem as it could have been. You know, I'm sure they could go even more. As they're not, Keanu's not touching them, right? But how is it? Or what we're seeing is that slowed down.
I don't know about slowed down. I mean, I think you want to put them on display. You want to show them as a threat. So you want the fight scene to be good in that way. So they're going to perform at whatever speed Chad Stahelski needs them to.
30%.
But they're going to slow down for Keanu. And again, that's the element of that scene of me saying Keanu can't strike for nothing. Them coming from Pencak Silat, which it's so weird to me that they're shinobi because one, they're Indonesian. And then they don't do at all a similar style to Mark Dacascos at all. Mark Dacascos isn't even Japanese. Like he grew up doing wushu and stuff. But he's mastered so many different styles throughout his life. But then for them to have him to be paired up with those two guys who are Indonesian and they do Pencak Silat, nothing like Japanese or Chinese styles whatsoever. It's an extremely different style.
Yeah.
But it is a stand-up style for the most part, what they do. So they just beat the shit out of him until he can finally close the distance and grapple with them. And that's what I love so much about that. It's again, a storytelling in the choreography. They are clearly better than him at this one thing. He needs to close it and he needs to stop playing their game and play his own. Just sort of that dynamic and storytelling through fight scenes. I love that stuff.
I also think this movie has maybe what I think is maybe the most emotional moment in the franchise. I love when he's talking to whatever representative that is of the high table in the desert, and he's talking about he wants to live to remember how much he loved his wife. And that is just like, I love that because two is dark as fuck. Like 2 is the darkest movie in the franchise for the character and the story. You know, with his friend bleeding out in the tub. Like there's some dark shit in that movie. And this is him kind of like having this moment of being at his lowest in the desert and then having this realization and vocalization of like why he wants to be alive. And it's beyond just being a tool for someone else to use to kill people. He has purpose. But I think that was beautiful writing. I love that. I also wanted to say I think this ending is so fucking sick because you get the Continental kind of like activating as like an entity in and of itself, like to protect itself against the adjudicator and like those forces. And that fight is awesome. You feel like they're at a real disadvantage. You have that body armor. All those guys are wearing like insane body armor. It's really strong. And then you have the heel turn from Winston and he shoots John. Like it's good stuff. Like it's all very, you know, political and intriguey, and they're all trying to like play each other. It's very, very good. And I love it a lot. Does also Sharon?
Yeah.
Does he die in this?
He dies at the beginning of the next one.
Okay, yes, right. That's right. Because yeah, he at the very end he turns to Winston and he's like, "Oh, well played, sir." And then he dies to Bill Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to ask you, Dan. Did you watch this movie in the theater when it came out?
Yeah, I watched all these in the theater.
What was your mindset when John fell off that roof and like came crashing down? It was okay. You're just like, I mean, obviously we know what these movies are, but even that, I was like,
yeah. I mean, these
might be a little
movies
too
have
much.
zero basis in reality ever. So I just
yes.
I don't know. I didn't think much of it. I think in the theater I kind of thought he was gonna die. And then I was like,
yeah,
he eats those. That's fine.
Out of any of these moments, even in the fourth film, obviously with what happens to him, but this was the one moment where I'm like, dude, dead for sure, 100%.
But also, I mean, at the same time, they show him like I think he's able to hit some stuff on the way, and like in my head, I almost was like, Winston kind of set it up to where he maybe thought he would survive, or like tried to, I don't know, just like sell it and just trusted that John is built different. But it's not like he goes straight down. I think he hits a bunch of stuff and
he hits like 4 things on the way down.
Breaks his fall. So whatever. I mean,
I was just imagine Ian McShane in like this 4th movie be like, John, I know you're built different.
The Wick is Pain documentary covered that stunt, and we got to hear from the stunt guy, John Wick stuntman, who only does like the big stuff like that, and of course all the car hits. The guy, that stuntman is just like, I can't count how many times I've been hit by a car. But it shows they have a whole set built for him to slide off the roof. He like slides off one roof, and he hits all the stuff on the way down. And so they have like a breakaway fire escape for him to bounce off that and then bounce off something else at the ground. His pants were too slick, and he like slid off the roof too fast, and he didn't hit the mark on the fire escape just right, and he ends up like hitting his legs on it and just landing on his neck on the fire escape. And he's just laying there, and everyone's like quiet, and he stands up eventually. And Chad Kelsey's like, "Are you good?" And he just he wiggles everything. He just wiggles his toes and everything. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And Chad Kelsey's just like, "Okay, give me a minute, do it again."
That's
So does the documentary cover all 4 films?
Yeah.
Ooh,
gotta watch that. Yeah,
for sure.
But
great movie.
Yeah, one of them I wanted to call out that I just thought was cool was when they confront the director and they stab through her hands. That's a really intense scene. I like that.
Lawrence
Just
Fisher.
another like memorable moment. This movie's full of just memorable shit, and I really love it. And it made a lot of money too. The most behind John Wick 4, I think.
I think each movie has gotten more and more profitable. Yep.
Do you guys have anything else to say about this?
Perfect movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. Wow. I got like 4.5 right now.
I get some heat from what's his I'm blanking on his name. Off the shelf, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. On TikTok. Steven, is that his name?
Yes.
I've gotten some grief from him because he hates. Just sort of jumps into John Wick 4. He does not care for John Wick 4, whereas I'm like, no, again, this is a fucking perfect movie. And he's like, right, but your whole thing is action. And I'm like, I understand. I feel like coming from someone saying like your whole thing is action, as long as the movie has great action, then it must be perfect. I truly just everything with this movie hits, every single character, every single story beat. Yes, it ends with the cliffhanger, and some people think, oh, this movie is just a freaking cartoon after cartoon after cartoon. I can't express enough how I see action as art. Like The Raid does not have a good plot, but that is a artists made that movie. It is a craft.
Yeah.
And like the level that I see well done action as a piece of art, it's just immaculate to me. So like John Wick 3 as a piece of art is perfect.
Yeah. I also just think it's like the other side. It's a great fucking story with great like it's everything. Like I think it's a complete package of like it's not some empty movie where like there is no plot. Like the action I think is perfect and the story is wonderful and it's building the world even bigger and like I think it's great and someone was telling me that people think it's like the worst movie in the franchise and I'm like, just rewatch the movie. Like you haven't seen that's like a take where like you haven't seen it in 4 years and you're like, yeah, I guess it's bad. I don't know. Like just rewatch it. It's so good. And if someone doesn't like it, I mean, I don't, comment maybe and say why you don't like it. I'd be curious to hear perspectives because I don't quite understand.
Yeah, give us your ranking in the comments below of all these movies.
Yeah.
All the John Wick Chapter 3 at the bottom that possibly we will see.
Rewatching the 4th movie, I love this movie in the theater so much. it was a wonderful theater experience. I don't think it's the easiest movie to rewatch. This movie takes everything from 3 and like turns it up to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Osaka Continental sequence is some of my favorite stuff in the franchise. Maybe my favorite action set piece in the franchise. It's so fucking cool, and I love Hiroyuki Sanada. And the idea of that Continental kind of like standing up and rebelling against, the high table and all, I love that. How do you guys feel about this in general?
I should go, Tristan.
As the martial arts fan, as this movie was being announced, I could not temper my excitement. And that's rough. That's difficult because you want to temper expectations. You want to set them all aside and say, let's just analyze this for what it is. But when the movie is being made and they're saying, hey, we've got Donnie Yen. And I'm like, oh, God. Hey, we've got Hiroyuki Sanada. You got Hiroyuki Sanada? Hey, we're bringing in Scott Adkins. You're bringing in fucking Scott Adkins? I don't think you understand. If you haven't seen a Scott Adkins movie, the man is the king of modern martial arts action cinema, especially when it comes to like the direct-to-video, direct-to-streaming market. The man has been killing it for 15 years. They're bringing in Marco Zador, the Chilean dragon. The man he's played a villain in a few Scott Adkins movies. He's been killing it over in Chile. They set up this cast, and the whole time my brain is exploding with the possibilities. And this movie met every single possibility and kicked it out the window and said, we can do better than that. And even aside from all that stuff, one thing I do truly appreciate about this movie is if any movie in the John Wick franchise deserved to be nominated for an Oscar, this movie looks incredible. I would have nominated this movie 1,000 times over for cinematography every single time. This movie looks beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
So you guys were talking about the fact that out of all the movies, the first one looks different, and that's because like the cinematographer Dan Laustin, I think is his name, is the one who does like the last 3, and he's also Guillermo del Toro's like dude for cinematography as well. Like the Frankenstein trailer just came out, like that's John Wick 4, like that's the same guy. So it's cool that in like an action, like fun action movie, right? It's like, no, dude, this is fucking art. Like we're gonna make this shit look and like stand the test of time.
You know what I don't like what Bill Skarsgård's doing here in this movie.
I don't either.
And it's a damn fucking shame because so many other elements are so good, and I feel like he's just like doing this goofy accent. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. This feels like you're a random Bond villain that's kind of been stuck in here, and he doesn't quite fit the tone of the movie for me or the feel of the rest of it. What do you think, Tristan? What's your take on that?
I think he does the job good enough. I don't think he is as dynamic, and it's crazy to say because Bill Skarsgård is such a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
I don't think he is as dynamic and even threatening as the adjudicator. I think the adjudicator was threatening.
Yeah.
And even though he's like the way he like holds like a knife to like the hunter guy, the tracker's hand, and like makes him like sort of like push through it or whatever. He even like stabs it into him and like makes him pull it out. Even like that's gross and terrifying and awful. I'm never quite as threatened by him as I am of the previous villain.
Yeah. Really agree. It's like it is. I mean, maybe they're trying to. This is like the commentary they're trying to like say in these films, but it's the same. My same issues with the second one, and it's the same similar villain to the first one. It's like someone who's all like bark but no bite, like someone who's making other people do their dirty work for them. Now, like I said, I like that in the first movie because it's the first movie, and I think I'm keep on saying Theon Greyjoy, but I think the actor does a really good job of playing this role. Now, it's interesting because Bill Skarsgård has to act like a high figure, but at the same time, he's a coward. So the blend of those, I don't think necessarily works with the writing of the character. It's just, I wish Donnie Yen was the final villain or something. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I'm tired of, And I guess it's like real life. All these powerful people making other people do their work for them and having leverage over them. I guess art imitates real life, but I just wish there's more to Bill Skarsgård than what I've already seen in the other films.
Also, you would assume if someone's on the high table, they're like a veteran assassin.
That's
He
what I'm
looks
saying,
so
dude.
young, and he seems like not threatening, so it's a strange. But again, I also don't want to oversell. He's not in that much of the movie. Like, it's not a big deal. I really like Shamir Anderson. It's Mr. Nobody, the tracker. More
He's an
dogs.
incredible actor.
Yeah, and I like how like he's so fluid in the story with his like allegiance, and it's interesting. Like I think he's one of the more interesting parts of it. Tristan, can you tell us a little bit about Scott Adkins? He plays the big old German guy. Who's very fucking funny. That scene is beautiful
So good.
because it brings everyone together. I love it so much.
Scott Adkins. Have y'all ever seen any Scott Adkins movies?
I don't think so. To be completely blunt,
I guarantee you've seen him in stuff because he's like, even though he's a big action star when it comes to the low budget stuff,
oh my
and even
God,
like
he played Weapon 11.
yes, he is under the Deadpool makeup in.
Oh no,
the icon.
That was very early, much earlier in his career before he was like a leading man in the B movie stage. His first breakout role, he played the villain. Did you ever see the Undisputed with Ving Rhames and Wesley Snipes?
Mm-mm.
It's not great. I don't recommend it. It's a boxing movie. It's a prison boxing movie. And this director named Isaac Florentine, who was a big martial arts nerd, took that franchise, or I guess that movie, and made straight-to-video sequels. And in the first one, Scott Adkins plays the villain. And I bring that up because that was his first major role, was being the villain in that movie. And his character, his name is Yuri Boyka. His whole thing is he's a Russian fighter, and he's like, I'm the most complete fighter in the world. But he's such a good character because he's this dude. He's religious, and he's not just fighting because he likes to beat people. He's fighting out of this respect for the sport. And at one point, his team poisons his opponent, and when he beats him, and when he learns that his team poisoned them, he's like, no, fuck all you guys. I'm here for the respect of this sport. So he was such a well-written character that for Undisputed 3 and 4, they're like, no, this guy who was the villain in 2 is now our hero. And from there, that was just a launching pad for Scott Adkins to become a huge star when it comes to the B movie market. And even like across the world, there's a handful of nations in Europe and the Middle East where he is genuinely like very famous because his movies just blew up over there. So what upsets me so much about seeing him in a lot of Hollywood movies like Deadpool, Wolverine, granted that was very early in his career, is he shows up in movies like The Brothers Grimsby or Doctor Strange, a couple other things where he's not utilized very well. He's a henchman who doesn't get any dialogue. He's dead in a minute, killed off screen maybe even. And when he was announced for this movie, I had hope because I knew that Chad Stahelski is an action nerd. Chad Stahelski, matter of fact, comes from the same space as Scott Adkins. Chad Stahelski's first work was in the straight-to-DVD Bloodsport 2, where he's just like a random fighter in the tournament. So I just knew that he was going to have respect for what Scott Adkins brought to the table. And Scott Adkins has not always been the best actor. He's actually good as Yuri Boyka. He really clicks into that character. I appreciate having watched a lot of his movies since 2008 that I've seen him grow as an actor. I've seen him get a lot stronger as an actor. If I had to recommend one movie, I would say track down Avengement. It's this, he plays this character who his brother is the head of this like British mob organization, and he gets thrown in prison, and his brother keeps paying people in prison to try to kill him because he thinks his brother's going to rat on him. And it's like the action in it is insane. It's violent. It's brutal. But Scott Adkins, you can clearly see in that movie, had grown so much as an actor that he's giving an excellent performance. And it's about so much more than the action. It's a really interesting revenge tale. Like, if you have to watch one of his movies, I'd say watch Avengement. It's so good.
He has a movie coming out this year called Prisoner of War with Peter Shinkota from Daredevil and Cowboy Cerrone.
Okay.
It says a British wing commander is shot down during the Battle of Bataan and taken prisoner in a Japanese-run prison camp where he's forced to fight for his life against the camp commander's most skilled fighters. That's interesting.
He's also got a movie coming out with Iko Uwais from The Raid called Skyline Warpath. As a matter of fact, he's also got a movie coming out this year with Marco Zoror. I can't remember what it's called, but he's teaming up with Marco Zoror again.
Diablo.
Yes, Diablo.
Yeah.
And then the Skyline Warpath. I don't know if y'all remember Skyline from like maybe 2007, but it was like an alien abduction movie.
I actually really like that movie.
So there's a director named Liam O'Donnell who took Skyline and turned it into a martial arts franchise. The second movie is Beyond Skyline, and it has Iko in it from The Raid. It has Yayan from The Raid and John Wick 3. And then the main character is Frank Grillo. But it just took it from like an alien abduction franchise to just it's now an action martial arts franchise.
This looks kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie. Skylines.
Look, I'm not gonna tell you they're gonna win an Oscar anytime soon. They're not gonna be the most amazing movies in the world, but they're really fun with a lot of really good action in them.
Cool. I did not expect, because I've seen the first Skyline. I did not expect that franchise to turn into an action movie franchise at all.
They're solid.
I wanted to ask you though. I'm just like doing some research here, and I guess this is not necessarily on John Wick 4 or about John Wick Chapter 4, but it is with Chad Stahelski and what we're talking about. You're so knowledgeable about stunt coordinators, and we've seen so many examples. Obviously, Chad being one of stunt coordinators who have succeeded at being directors. Is there anybody who you can think of right now? I know another example is Sam Hargrave with the Extraction movies.
Yes.
I was clicking on the. I was just clicking away down here, trying to like a whole kind of like on a segue down here on my little iPad, figuring out what these people have been involved with. And there's another director who was a stunt coordinator who I'm trying to click it on real quick, who did the Killers game that came out earlier. JJ Perry. He was like on Django and Avatar and the first John Wick movie. So basically, is there any stunt coordinator who is coming out with the movie, or one that you think could become like a director or a filmmaker? I mean, there's a lot of them out there, so maybe that's a tough question to ask. But
the thing with that job right now, and matter of fact, Dan asked me last week sort of the state of martial arts cinema and martial arts movies. There's a whole generation of guys, and Chad Stahelski and David Leitch and JJ Perry, they're sort of the previous generation. There's a whole generation of guys who came up on Hong Kong movies and you know, Van Damme and stuff like that. Even a lot of those guys have been doing stuff on YouTube for years, and that success they had on YouTube led them to then becoming fight coordinators and action directors. Jeremy Morenas, who is the action coordinator on this movie, John Wick 4, he's one of those guys. He came from that YouTube space and even like Martial Club. Martial Club is Brian and Andy Lee, Daniel Ma, D.Y. Sao. Those guys were just Hong Kong nerds who started making their own short films and fight scenes on YouTube. And then they got discovered, and they went and choreographed and fought Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it's literally just a whole generation of guys who just grew up on this stuff. And like, they're all sort of stepping out. They've all directed the low budget stuff. You brought up Sam Hargrave. Sam Hargrave is one of those guys who grew up on the Hong Kong stuff. He is a Hong Kong nerd. He has a low budget movie he plays the bad guy in called Unlucky Stars. It's very good. It's right here. This is directed by a guy named Vlad Rimberg. Vlad Rimberg grew up on the Hong Kong stuff. He's like a fight coordinator and action director on like Lucifer, but he you know, he's directed some stuff. But Sam Hargrave, I bring him up because he was the second unit director and fight coordinator on like the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
And
I
so
know he was like the stunt double for like Chris Evans, right?
Yeah, he was Chris Evans' stunt double for a while. I mean, there's more people around the world. Kenji Tanigaki is blowing up right now. Kenji Tanigaki was like Donnie Yen's like right-hand man for a lot of stuff throughout the early 2000s, and now he's stepping out and doing more directing himself, and he's doing some fantastic work. So I mean, yeah, there's a whole new generation of guys. It's kind of the reason I have faith going into the future, even in Hollywood, for martial arts cinema. Like, I think the 2000s, when it comes to Hollywood stuff, was a shit show. It was awful. It was a disaster. I blame Paul Greengrass and all those guys who made the Bourne films. And now there's a generation of guys who grew up hating that stuff because they were the Hong Kong people, and they're starting. I think it's their turn next. So I have faith for the future because those guys are going to take over.
Yes, that's one thing I'm thinking about too. I mean, streaming services have been probably an overall negative on movie making in general, but I think having so many of them allows so many more opportunities for people to maybe get seen. Obviously, I would love if every single streaming movie went, directly to the theater, but I don't think the theaters could take that. I don't think that's realistic. There's a lot of movies that I think come out on streaming services that would have been direct to video back in the day. But even then, if you take one of these guys you're talking about, if they make a movie rather than going direct to video like it would have been back in the day, if you're possibly even on Netflix, something like that, I don't love them that much. But I think the entertainment space right now is good for finding new talent more than ever before. Not necessarily highlighting and adoring the art that comes out of it, but it does allow more people to get seen. So that makes me excited.
Yeah, streaming services are never, ever, 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 ever a negative. No one has ever said that as a sweeping term. I think the problem is when Netflix says we want to see movie theaters shut down, and they openly say that. And they fight tooth and nail with premier directors like David Fincher, Greta Gerwig, etc. And people have to fight to get their fucking movie in a theater for 2 weeks. That's embarrassing. So I think that's the only time streaming is a quote unquote problem. Otherwise, it's great. But it should exist parallel to theaters, not as a standalone thing. So
my beef with Netflix and many streamers is that because of them, I won't get to own a lot of those movies.
They hate physical media too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm constantly recommending stuff. I've recommended a handful of movies to Dan, and the issue is he's canceled his Netflix, and a lot of those movies are on Netflix. Netflix for me won 2024, and it was just because the output of such great stuff. 60 Minutes from Germany, a movie I probably maybe would have never seen without Netflix, but I'd like to get that on physical media. So you have 60 Minutes from Germany, Kill Boksoon and Ballerina from South Korea, City Hunter from Japan. There's so many amazing foreign movies from around the world. I just watched a movie from France last night called KO. It's not great. I halfway recommend it, but I'm happy I watched it. It actually stars Cyril Gane from the UFC. But I've gotten to see so many different foreign martial arts movies. Even like I said, I've never really even seen a German martial arts movie. That's not something they really do over there because of their history. That's a thing. Yeah. But now I'm I see those movies and I'm and even The Night Comes for Us and The Big Four and Shadow Strays from Timo Chianto are all on Netflix, and they are all perfect movies, and I would love to have them on this shelf behind me, but because they're Netflix, that's never gonna see the light of day.
Dude, imagine if John Wick 4 was a streaming movie. Never got to see this at a theater.
Dude, the Frankenstein thing has me truly so upset. And I don't want to poo-poo anyone that's excited about it. Be excited. I just it's Guillermo del Toro making Frankenstein. Let me go to a fucking theater. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's just ego to me. It's hubris. It's just not being able to. It doesn't actually hurt them if it goes into theater and succeeds. They're distributing it. It's just you want people to sit on your fucking platform. And it's so frustrating. And so many directors are just taking the money and saying, yeah, fuck it. This is safe. Mm-hmm. The industry is not safe right now. And it's
they put out a few things on physical media. They have to put some stuff in theaters temporarily, I guess, for Oscar consideration.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. But they do a handful of things on physical media. I think Okja was Netflix. That's Criterion. Beast of No Nation went Criterion. If they have a popular TV show, then that'll get some DVD release. But take those more obscure movies like The Night Comes for Us, and I don't care. Make a steelbook and charge $60 for it. I'll fucking buy it.
I'll buy them all.
And the thing is, like, the other thing that pisses me off is I don't even think they care about the two. Like, they want awards because they use that as bait for more directors. Like,
Yep.
they don't even think about it as we want awards for prestige for our company or whatever. They think, okay, how are we going to lure in whoever the fuck? You know, it's just.
Dude, we got like 11 nominations for a shitty movie like Amelia Perez. Imagine if you came over here.
Man, I forgot about Amelia Perez. Holy shit.
Sorry about that. Little jump scare there. My bad.
No, it's fine. But I'm sorry for my ranting. I just
I mean, we were all ranting about Netflix there for a little bit.
Yeah.
John Wick Chapter 4. I mean, really
Yeah, we
good.
went off topic on that one for a bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. What's the standout sequence on this one for everybody?
It gotta be the stairs for me. Like, I think it's so much good action, like, coordination, like so much planning goes into that, but also it's what I love about this franchise is the comedy. Like him just falling down those stairs is just it's
Like,
hilarious.
bro, you
It's
can
hilarious.
try to stop yourself. Like, you grab something. Like, he's just like, oh, I'm going to fall down 200 stairs. It is
It's
fun.
so good. So
Yeah.
good.
I think the arc of well, of course, there's the dragon's breath scene. That's just amazing. And again, like just the idea of like the geography of a scene and like the amount of planning that went into that, and like how they had to like count for that scene to where like they had to do like a counting system so that everyone knew when they could show up. And then but the Arc de Triomphe scene, that again, that's a great scene from Marco Zoror, who's like he's Bill Skarsgård's like
right hand man.
sort of right hand man. My whole thing of John Wick can't strike for shit. Marco Zoror beats the shit out of John Wick.
Yeah.
And of course, Kane did Donnie Yen. I love the whole way, the way he was like setting like alarms for people to walk by so you would know where they're at. That whole scene in the museum with him, everything he did in this movie was great. I'm excited for his spinoff.
And I love and again, like a little bit, it's interesting because we talked about throughout, like in 2 and 3, especially, you see John just being used as a tool by bad people, and he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to do the stuff he's doing. And you get another person just like that who is, has a family member being used as leverage this time. And it's just like, it's painful to watch because these guys are friends. Mm-hmm. And the scene where they're fighting and then, he says, "You dead, John?" Like that to me, like, is really strong and like sad as fuck. I like that scene a lot. I think it's really good. But I think, to me, it's everything at Osaka. That the Continental fight there is just, it's so good. I love that.
The early shots there of John Wick on the rooftop, and then like the tree lit up in red behind him, like that is just that's the first sign that it's like, oh, this movie deserves an Oscar nomination.
For sure. Won't get it. I mean, stunt coordination though. It's coming. What, 2 years? Stunt people are getting Oscar nominations.
Great. I can't wait for an amazing movie from Indonesia to be completely ignored.
It'll be like 3 Marvel movies.
Brand new thing of outrage for the Oscars, rightful, justified outrage. And it really is like, when you open up to stunts, you will be getting stuff that should be considered from all over the world, and like, I mean, I think so much of the Oscars is like bought and paid for to an extent. Like, it's just who knows who and who's at what party and who's talking to who and who's
What movie did everybody not see so didn't vote for?
It was.
Well, I was just like, that just happens every year.
Oh
yeah. Like people actually have to watch the movies now. Like what? What have you been doing?
Most is Kubo and the Two Strings. I still remember it because it pisses me off so much. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, Kubo and the Two Strings, and it lost the best animation Oscar to Zootopia. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Nobody sitting in that room watched Kubo and the Two Strings.
And you know what it should be? If I ran the fucking Oscars, there would be screenings of every single fucking movie, every single thing. If you're voting, you have to go to a physical screening with everybody else, put your fucking phone in a little baggie, and you have to sit there and watch the fucking movies, and they watch you watch the movies. Like, Now it's like, oh, you can log into a thing and, you know, it tracks if you watch the movie or not. People are going to let that shit play on their fucking laptop while they sit on their fucking couch and eat ice cream. Like, if you want to be taken seriously, like, take it seriously. You should be excited to watch the movies. Like, I'm excited to go, you know, to film festival this year and like see a bunch of stuff that's going to be up for Oscars. Like, that's fun to me. So I just don't understand the mindset of like, oh, I have to watch this. I'm not going to watch this. Like, you should be looking forward to it. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got off another little tangent.
Yeah.
At the end, we're just venting here at the end of the episode. Now I have to ask though, with how much obviously we love this franchise. I mean, we've talked about it almost for 2 hours now. Do you guys wish that this was the end, or when a fifth one comes out and it's just as high quality, are you okay with it? Obviously, this wasn't the plan, but money talks, studio talks. They wanted to end it with this movie, and I believe there was an alternate scene where the dog looked to his left and we saw John Wick. I don't think Ian McShane did.
Does John say on your left?
Yeah. It comes through like a Doctor Strange portal.
On your left.
But yeah, do you wish it would have ended here? Do you wish that Stone could have bought the box set and it would have been done? Don't have to worry about another movie getting added.
Like, realistically, no, because I want to watch more.
Yeah.
But it better be a good story. I think the thing is with John Wick 4, I think it got a little bit. I think almost every action sequence is a little bit too long. I think there's a lot of repetitive gun stuff. I think it really goes for it. I think it gets a little bit self-indulgent. This movie does not need to be 245. It does not.
Yeah.
And that's my only thing with it. I do love it. I think it's a great movie, but I think it got a little bit carried away, and I just want to see it refocus a little bit, and have a better main villain. But I'm excited. I mean, I'm not gonna throw a fit when the next one comes out. I'm not gonna be like, oh, should I? Like, no, I'm excited. So that's
like, give me a villain who is like John Wick, as a legend as him. I guess Donnie Yen Kane's kind of like that, but that's what I'm saying. Show me someone who is like an opposing force that is the main villain, who's just a terrible fucking guy. He doesn't have a daughter. He just wants to kill John. Just wants to obliterate him. Just wants to murder him, but do it himself. That's what I'm waiting on. That's what I haven't seen in these movies yet.
My only thing is, I'm like, it's so good. The last two are so good that I'm not creative enough to be able to say I know where this could go. I know what we could do next, because I'm like, I don't know what we can do next.
John Wick in space.
John Wick and
killing aliens. Oh baby. No.
Yeah, I just don't know what else they could do. I would love. I really, at the end of the day, like him, like Dan, I don't mind. I'll take more. I can't wait for the Kane spinoff. I think that they can do some amazing stuff with that. Did they say who's directing the Kane spinoff?
Yeah, it's it is Donnie Yen.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm okay with that. Donnie Yen's been doing some good directing recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. That's perfect. Oh my god, he might bring in Kenji Tanigaki. That would be so fucking good.
And he's co-writing the story with Chad Stahelski.
Yes.
There you go.
What they could do with this franchise is do the spinoffs, is introduce new people, maybe like even Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins was wearing so much makeup and was in a fat suit for this movie, so maybe bring him in just looking like Scott Adkins and playing a new character. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm always willing to watch more. A little bit unlike Dan of saying the movies are the fight scenes all go a little bit too long. I'm Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, just going more. I can take more any day. I don't care. It really I'm satisfied with my only issue is I'm satisfied with John Wick's conclusion. Is he dead? Is he not? I don't care. If he is dead, that's sad and I accept it. If he's not dead, he's found an out. He's found an escape. So I'm satisfied with him as a character.
The Donnie Yen movie is shooting in Hong Kong this year, so it's exciting.
So it will be out before Chapter 5. That's interesting. I wonder how it'll do. I hope it does really well.
mean, I'm assuming
It doesn't have a woman in it.
I'm assuming it'll do really well internationally and like do well in
Yeah.
China. Like I would hope. If they're still showing fucking our movies in China, you know,
As long as it's not a dark period, I guess.
yeah.
I do have to wonder if like they saw Rogue One and they're like, "Yo, Donnie Yen plays a really good blind guy. Yo, we should do that again."
I know
Something I always think about.
people are bagging on that, saying, "Oh, is this all he's ever going to do in Hollywood? Is play blind people?"
It's 2 fucking movies. Just like the most commercially successful ones in the United States.
He was in Triple X Return of Xander Cage.
Crazy pull there. Do you like the Triple X movies?
The most notable thing for me from the Triple X movies is that the first one has a Rammstein song in it. That's all I got for you.
Pretty sure that director's like a rapist or something.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. You know.
I think, but he also directed Fast and Furious. Am I imagining that? What's that guy's name?
I'm not sure on that one. I have this weird thing, and it's the same reason why I've only ever seen one Mission Impossible movie. Is coming up on martial arts movies from such a young age. I just had zero interest in so much of the American martial arts or American action stuff. So like I've barely seen much of the Triple X franchise. I've seen one Mission Impossible movie. I've seen like the fight scenes in the Bourne franchise. I've never sat through a single Bourne film. Like there's so much American action stuff throughout the early 2000s that I just missed because I was like, I've seen a few of these and they're not very good. So I'm just going to keep watching the foreign stuff that is good. And that was just my take. That was just my opinion, but that was what I was going through back then. So I've not seen a lot of American action movies from that period.
Dude, if the formula isn't broken, don't fix it. Keep on watching them. If you keep on watching good movies, that's all that matters.
How do you guys rank these movies?
4 and 3 go back and forth. But right now, sitting right here in front of you with a cat, I will say, I'm sorry. 4, 3, 1, 2.
John Wick 3 is the best. That's what the cat said.
4, 3, 1, 2.
Stone?
I'm gonna do 1, 4, 3, 2.
You like 4 better than 3?
Yeah.
How many stars do you give it?
So I gave them both 4.5 or 4s. And then at just thinking about the movie, I just like how like it kind of does feel like an epic conclusion for John Wick, the 4th movie, even though sadly Chapter 5 is gonna come. Yeah, which is really stupid. That's like with the whole Mission Impossible. If they come out with another Mission Impossible, man, it's gonna feel so awkward because the Final Reckoning really does sound like, dude, never again will we ever do one of these movies. At least
unless it makes
Cruise.
money, and then we'll make another one. But
exactly. So I think it's that what really pushes it over for me. No, 1, 3, 4, 2.
Nice. Okay.
I know that makes you happy because you like 3. Nice.
3, 2, 1, 4.
I have both 3 and 4 sitting at 5 stars on my Letterboxd.
Nice.
Jeez, good franchise. Great guest. So Tristan, How to Train Your Dragon next week. You know a lot about dragon lore and mythology.
I think I've only seen the first one.
Good movie. But dude, thanks for coming on yet again. And you are Central Time Zone. Me and Dan are Eastern Time Zone. Any nobody come for us if you know where we live. But with that information. But dude, this is awesome. Yet again. I wasn't able to come on with you last week, talk about the Karate Kid. But you guys did make an awesome clip that did really well on TikTok, so appreciate that. Please appreciate your input. But hey, I didn't even know you did YouTube. So tell everyone where to find you, especially YouTube, because I'm subscribing to you right now as you
I
are
have
about to tell us.
been martial arts film freak on YouTube for the past coming up on 9 years, maybe.
Damn.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, just talking about all things kung fu, martial arts, action cinema from around the world, whether it be the low budget stuff or the foreign stuff. I'm there talking about it.
And are you on all platforms? TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff?
TikTok, Martial Arts Film Freak. Instagram, Martial Arts Film Freak. Those are kind of the top places there.
There you go. Okay, here's the thing. You've watched so many films, so many martial arts films, so many films that people haven't seen. What is the one that you would recommend? Maybe the most accessible one to our audience that you think, hey, there's no chance that not everyone will love this.
I picked one, so I figured you asked for a recommendation at the end. I picked one that is just going to be on theme here. I don't think it's the best movie in the world, but I do think it is very, very good and deserves more recognition. And that I've got right here is Keanu Reeves' only directed film, his directorial debut, and so far the only movie he's ever directed, and that is Man of Tai Chi. He's cast in this movie as his lead actor was Tiger Chen, who Tiger Chen is actually in John Wick Chapter 3. He's the guy who gets the knife to the eye in that very brutal scene. Tiger Chen is one of the guys who trained Keanu for The Matrix, and then he's actually in one of the fight scenes in Reloaded. But this is a fantastic movie. It's directed by Keanu, action choreography, and probably some action direction by Yuan Wu Ping. It's a very solid movie. It came out like the year before John Wick.
Nice.
This has really good reviews, and if it was made hand in hand with China, but it looks like it didn't succeed at all, that's so bizarre. Like, it didn't succeed financially, but everyone says it's good. That's really
Keanu also plays the villain, in which I'll say he's a very fun, cartoony villain.
I think he could do a villain. That'd be so cool to see him in a villain role because I feel like he never gets that. He's not the villain in Knock Knock, right? As the girls that come over, they're the villain.
I'd say probably not.
I've just heard the horror stories about Knock Knock.
Is this in Mandarin, Tristan?
Yes. There is some English in it too. Tiger Chen does speak some English. Of course, all Keanu Reeves stuff is in English. But yeah, it's sort of back and forth. There's some English, there's some Mandarin.
Nice.
I'll give a recommendation real quick. Kind of in line with John Wick Chapter 4 just a little bit because Shamir Anderson's in it, Mr. Nobody. He was in a movie this year that came out in theaters called The Luckiest Man in America, and I thought he was absolutely electric in it, and I couldn't remember where he was from. He was from John Wick Chapter 4. The stars like Paul Walter Hauser, and it's based on a true story. Basically, this guy back in the day, you might have heard of it, but figured out how a game show worked. Like he studied the tapes of a game show, and it's supposed to be at random how you make the money, but it's actually like an algorithm that he figured out. And he goes on the show and wins like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the movie, so that was real. But then the movie's kind of like not only that and a little bit of his backstory, which I think they made up for the movie, but also the studio. And they're like, what do we do? Like he can go on forever. So how do we get this guy out of here? How do we make him stop? And Shamir was part of that team. And Walton Goggins is in it too. Maisie Williams. It's got a really great cast, but I thought it was a pretty solid film that I saw. Just went in. I hadn't even seen a trailer, but I knew what it was about though. I knew what it was about based on the poster.
Another connection I just remembered that this movie does have to the John Wick franchise is at one point Tiger Chen has a fight scene against Jeremy Marinas, and Jeremy Marinas is the action coordinator on John Wick Chapter 4.
Nice.
There you go.
Do you guys want to see the one of the worst martial arts movies ever made? You should watch Jiu-Jitsu from 2020.
I've seen it.
It's Frank Grillo, Nick Cage, Tony Jaa, Juju Chan.
Is that directed by Ernie Barbarosh?
It was Dimitri. Yeah.
Logothis. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I hate that man. I have beef with that man.
Why do you hate him?
He clearly has a passion for the genre. He tried to reignite the Kickboxer franchise. He rebooted the Kickboxer franchise with Alain Moussi, who I enjoy. Alain is great. He's a fantastic performer. You've seen him in stuff like Nobody. He got beat up on the bus in Nobody. He rebooted the Kickboxer franchise, and he clearly is very passionate about it. And somehow he's just really bad at making movies because all of those Kickboxer movies are terrible. And then he makes Jiu-Jitsu, where yes, he casts Nicolas Cage, who's awful in it. But then he brings in Alain Moussi again. He brings in Tony frickin' Jaa, You brought up the Machado brothers. One of the Machado brothers is in that movie.
Yeah.
Juju Chenzetto, who was just in Fight or Flight. Maurice Crump. Like, that movie has a stacked cast. But Dimitri Logothetis, I think his name is such a bad director
It's
that
funny.
he
Funny as
just an amazing cast, and he flops every single minute of it. That movie is awful.
It might be Nick Cage's worst movie, which is, and I've seen a lot of Nick Cage movies. It's truly fucking horrible. Also, he got into he shot it in Cyprus, got into a huge legal battle with like the government of Cyprus. It's insane. Go look into that. But yeah, it's quite bad. But it's funny if anyone wants to watch a funny Nick Cage
It's a
movie.
cool concept. I like the concept. It's a bad movie.
But it's not so bad. It's good though.
No, it's so bad. It's good 100%. Yes, funny. And they spent $25 million on it. It made $99,000.
It's bad.
All right, Dan, I see you. You rated it as half a star. Now we've talked but what's that other movie we talked about? The Nick Cage movie that we've.
That's just a much better movie. You're talking about Between Worlds.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. You haven't seen this? No, this is way worse, dude. It's way worse. Between Worlds is like, I think, intentionally very funny. This is not intentional.
You're wrong, Tristan. There's a movie we talked about on a Nick Cage episode called Between Worlds. I still have the video on my phone. They left a scene in the film. They literally accidentally left something in the movie that was not supposed to be there.
It's very.
And
funny.
I record. It's like that's not. I don't think that was purposeful.
I was looking at my jujitsu rating on Letterboxd. I gave it 2 stars, but it probably deserves way less.
Yeah. It's
Have
not.
you ever seen Prisoner of the Ghostland? I think it's what it's called.
No, I've not.
That is another Nicolas Cage film that also stars what's her name from
Fake fan. Dan's fake fan of Nicolas Cage.
What's her name from the Kingsman movie and
Sophia Boutella.
Sophia Boutella, yes. Prisoner of the Ghostland. If you ever want to watch a movie where one of Nicolas Cage's testicles explodes, then you watch that one.
Dude, he has so many films, Dan. Oh man,
It's like 110, I think.
Oh my gosh,
I'm through
there's
50.
so many. I'm through 50. I watched that clip so many times. I'll never forget. It is like Nicolas Cage crying at something, and then all of a sudden you see a shot of his head go, and then it cuts to something else. Like he's crying. It cuts to him going, and then some other scene plays. I'm like, wait, what was that head turn?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Good. All right, jiu-jitsu. I'll watch it tonight at work.
It's funny.
Then watch Man of Tai Chi.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna watch that. That looks really cool.
But all right. Well, thanks for listening to our John Wick episode, everybody. It's funny because Connor actually did. Dan, you weren't on Connor's episode when he did this way back in the day, right?
No.
Okay, so Connor's actually talked about this franchise before, but Good Will Podcasting has changed. And Connor, I wonder how Connor's opinion. I'm gonna go watch that episode. I wonder how his opinions on these movies have, if they align with ours at all. But thanks everybody for listening in. Tune in next week. I believe we're gonna do How to Train Your Dragon, which should be a pretty interesting discussion. But until then, go outside, sit on a park bench, touch some grass, watch some good movies, call up your friends. We'll see you then. Peace out, bud.